friends, it's the Stitches, and today I'm going to talk to you about my top four thrifting tips. Number one, you want to consider your donation centers. This is the most important part of whether or not a thrift store is going to have good items for you. So consider the location of where the donation centers for a store are. Like, there's the store itself, and the store itself will take donations. But then most stores also have other places around town, like outside of grocery stores or just in vacant parking lots where they have, you know, the back of the semi-truck thing where you like load it with all the donations and then they take that to their center. So you want to consider where these donation centers largely are. Not everything that goes to those donation centers will go to your local store, especially if it's like a Goodwill or something. They usually go to a distribution center to get sorted first. But it's still important to consider where those locations are because they will have an impact on the type of people that typically donate to that store. And the reason this is important is because the age and the general income of the type of person that donates to a store will determine what's there. And I know that this is getting like really mathematic and obtuse, but I have a point, I promise. Shops that are near older locations or older neighborhoods or shops that have a reputation for being a place that older people shop will typically have more vintage items, more older items. So if you're looking for 80s pieces, 70s pieces, you'll want to go to these stores primarily because they won't have as many of the newer, trendier pieces, because that's just not what that type of person buys. In wealthier areas, especially like areas that aren't super new but aren't super old, places where the wealthier middle class or the wealthier middle-aged people would be, I tend to have more high-end brand pieces. So if you're looking for like Ralph Lauren, Calvin Klein, if you're looking for good staple basics that you can wear to work, or like really tailored pieces, then focus your search on these stores. I find that value villages tend to be really good places for finding that type of stuff because they tend to put their donation centers by like nicer grocery stores. And the people that shop at nicer grocery stores are obviously the people that have more money to spend on groceries. Newer neighborhoods, poorer neighborhoods tend to have more fast fashion items, but they also tend to have trendier items. So if you're looking for new fashion stuff, if you're looking for styles that are current, then you'll want to seek out those type of stores. I still do recommend going to every store in your area at least once, but if you go to a store a few times and you notice that they just don't really tend to carry the type of things that you like, then there's really no need to go back to it regularly. So my second tip is don't waste your time while you're at the store. You really don't need to look through every single rack while you're there. I know a lot of people suggest, you know, looking through every item on every rack because you never know, but I find that that doesn't really help me, especially when you get to independently owned thrift stores. Independently run thrift stores tend to have like smaller stores, but the store itself will have the same amount of clothing in it as like a Goodwill. It's just very compact, and if you try to look through every single garment in a store like that, you're gonna get overwhelmed, you're gonna get sick of looking, you're gonna be like, man, this sucks, I want to go home, and your chances of finding something are honestly usually a lot slimmer. I find it's best to scan for the colors and the textures that you're looking for and just sort of look for things that catch your eye. If you are looking for a certain type of item, then maybe look at the rack, the entire rack. But unless you're like, man, I really need a specific type of sweater, then really just kind of glance over the sweaters, look for colors that you like, textures that you like, and then pull out anything that catches your eye. But if you're gonna be thrifting for the day and you're going to several different stores and you're like, You know, I'm looking for specific colors, especially for me, I'm usually looking for bright colors. If I see a rack that has nothing but black on it, I'm not even gonna go up to it, because why would I need to look through that? I know that I'm not gonna find anything. And number 3 is to inspect every piece of clothing before you decide to buy it. And I mean, look for stains, look for rips, look for things that kind of turn you off to it. Make sure that you really inspect the clothing pieces that you want to buy. My motto with thrift stores is to like spend as little time looking at individual racks, but spend as much time as possible looking at individual items that catch your eye. Because once you see that item, you know, it may look great while you're under that fluorescent lighting, but then you get home and you notice that there's a stain right on the front, and now you don't feel comfortable wearing it because there's a stain right on the front, and you're gonna be self-conscious about that stain the whole time. So like, don't buy the shirt with the stain on it, you know? And try everything on if you can. I know some thrift stores don't have changing rooms, but if they do have a changing room, try on every single piece of clothing, because when you're in that thrift store, the size tag means nothing. It means absolutely nothing, because you have clothing from all different eras, you have clothing from all different stores, you have clothing designed to fit all different ages. You know, you have juniors clothing mixed in with women's clothing and vice versa, and you have women's clothing mixed in with men's clothing sometimes, and vice versa. So the size tag really means nothing whatsoever. Try it on if you can. If you're going to a thrift store that you know doesn't have a changing booth, or if you're going to a thrift store you haven't been to before, bring a measuring tape just in case, so that you can like measure yourself, measure the item, make sure that it will actually fit you. Because you don't want to buy a bunch of stuff at the thrift store, come home, and then realize half of it doesn't fit you, and then feel uncomfortable taking it back, because like, why are you returning things at Goodwill? And then my 4th tip, and probably my most important, is to know what you're looking for ahead of time. Go through your wardrobe, see what basics you need, see what you're missing, see what colors you need, see what colors you have too much of, see what textures you're lacking and what textures you'd like to play with, and so on and so forth. And just sort of keep an ongoing shopping list. I have one of these on my phone of just articles of clothing that I'm interested in bringing into my closet. That way when I'm in the thrift store, I can look for those exact things. And then, you know, if I see other things while I'm there that catch my eye, that's great. If I find something else that I hadn't considered at all, that's great. But if you know what you're looking for, if you have a plan going into the store, then your odds of getting overwhelmed, your odds of like being like, oh my God, I'm so sick of looking at more clothing, kind of dissipates, because it's almost like you're on a mission. Like you came in, you're gonna find this thing, and you're gonna get it and take it home, and most of the time that doesn't happen, but like if you at least have a plan going in, I find that it just helps. So that's everything that I have for you guys today. I hope that this was helpful and enlightening, and if not, I hope it at least entertained you. And I hope everybody has a good day, and I hope everybody considers some thrifting the next time that they need to buy something in the clothing department. And I will see you all next time. Bye.